To West Asia now, which is bracing for yet another war. Iran versus Israel. They've been old foes. Both have vowed to wipe the other out of existence. And now they're firing more than verbal missiles. An explosion has shaken up Tehran. This happened 24 hours back. It looks like a minor blast, but it's not. It's a drone strike, a strike allegedly conducted by Israel. Israel has not taken responsibility, but multiple reports confirm that this was an Israeli drone attack, almost an act of war. You fly a drone behind enemy lines, and that too with the intent to strike. This qualifies as an act of war. No lives were lost in the explosion. The casualty was the oil market. Prices of Brent shot up earlier today. The flare-up comes at a complicated time for Iran and for Israel. Iran has been dealing with domestic protests and a nuclear deal that is stuck. Israel is exchanging fire with Hamas and has suffered an attack on a synagogue just a couple of days back. So what explains this latest escalation? On Vantage tonight, we'll bring you the backstory to connect the dots. Let's go back to that video from Iran first, the explosion. It happened in the city of Isfahan. It is located in central Iran. It's the third largest city in the country. The explosion happened on the top of a building. It is believed to be a munitions factory, and it's right next to a site that belongs to Iran's Space Research Center. The US has sanctioned this research center. America says the center is involved in Iran's ballistic missile program. So the site of the explosion was a sensitive one, and the plan was ambitious. Israel is said to have sent 3 quadcopters to target this factory. A quadcopter is basically a type of a combat drone. 3 of these flew into Isfahan. 1 was shot down by Iran's air defenses. The other 2 exploded above the factory. The blast tore the roof, but no other damage has been reported.
جاری که شنیده شد از صدایی بود که پدافند اون ریز پرنده رو مورد اصابت قرار داد. مردم در ابتدا مقدار نگران شده بودند ولی الحمدلله اطلاع رسانی به موقع و سریع.
Iran's foreign minister has called it a cowardly strike. I have a statement with me. This is what he said. Such actions cannot impact the determination and intent of our experts for peaceful nuclear progress. He was asked if this blast is going to impact Iran's nuclear program. This is what he said. So this is what we know about the blast. Now to the question of timing. Why is it happening now? There's a new government in Israel, a government led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has a record of sanctioning daring military operations against Iran. Netanyahu is said to be pursuing the same policy now. But what about his partners? What about Israel's partners in Washington, D.C.? Where do they stand on this? They've been trying to strike a nuclear deal with Iran. No progress there. Earlier this month, the US and Israel conducted a drill. And this was their largest military exercise to date. The US and Israel. The drill went on for 4 days. Thousands of troops from both sides were involved. The soldiers fired more than 180,000 pounds of live munitions. What's the message that they're trying to send? Listen to what Israel's new military chief has said about it. When someone attacks you, the best defense is to attack him back. So it is offensive capabilities, and we shape it in order to bring a very clear message to Iran. If Iran makes mistakes, offensive capabilities are getting ready. This is the message from Israel, and it's not just military drills. Intelligence cooperation is also deepening between the two sides. CIA Director William Burns was in Tel Aviv last week. It was a surprise visit. He's said to have discussed Iran and other issues. And this week, another top American official will be in Israel, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Again, Iran is on the agenda. Do you see the recalibration here? Why is Team Biden warming up to Israel again? 2 reasons. Number 1, the Iran nuclear deal. The US president wanted to revive the deal, but as of today, the talks are dead. The negotiations remain stalled, and Iran has ramped up uranium enrichment. Reports say Tehran now has enough uranium to build several nuclear bombs. So the US is back to playing war games with Israel to build pressure on Iran. Reason number 2, Iran's deepening ties with Russia. Tehran has been supplying weapons to Russian forces in Ukraine. Needless to say, Washington does not like it.
With respect to economic pressure, for deciding to go down a road where their weapons are being used to kill civilians in Ukraine and to try to plunge cities into cold and darkness, which, from our point of view, puts Iran in a place where it could potentially be contributing to widespread war crimes.
New flashpoints are emerging in West Asia. The actions of Israel and America are raising the risk of conflict. Already tensions are rising between Iran and Azerbaijan. They're neighbors and they don't get along well. Last Friday, the Azerbaijan embassy in Tehran was attacked. A gunman stormed the diplomatic mission. He killed the security chief and wounded 2 others. Apparently, Baku had issued repeated warnings to Tehran. It said the embassy was at risk. Yet the attack happened. And now the mission has been closed. Azerbaijan has evacuated the diplomatic staff and their families. It is calling this a terrorist attack.
As a ministry, we demand from the Iranian side to bring the perpetrators of this terrorist act into justice as soon as possible, since Iran, as a side who accept the embassies, has an obligation, according to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, to secure and to provide the safety of the embassies. And the embassy security obligation is directly lies on Iranian shoulders.
Tehran says the attacker was driven by personal motives. Baku says this claim is absurd. Iran says the attack will not hurt relations, but it's clear that Azerbaijan has been moving closer to Israel. And Iran has backed Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. It sounds very complicated because it is. This relationship is strained and this region is a powder keg. And Iran has been firefighting at home too. It has been rocked by protests and violent crackdowns. There is a serious shortage of food, fuel, medicines and other essentials. And to make things worse, there was an earthquake over the weekend. 3 people died, hundreds were injured. Like they say, when it rains, it pours. For Iran, the challenges are multiplying by the day. A military conflict is the last thing it would want. But the same holds true for its regional and international adversaries.